Taking it off. Taking it off. Taking it off. Taking it off. Taking it all off. Oh, yeah.
Hola!
Oh, hello there.
So, I'm sure you saw the news and the title. We had a baby.
I mean, if it's not obvious.
Yes, we created a human.
Oh, yeah. Still in shock.
Yeah, it's honestly still surreal. If you saw our previous videos, you know that last year we met, got engaged, got married, and were pregnant with child all in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be surreal. Like, we've just accepted that everything feels surreal, and we'll probably get caught up in 5 years or so.
For sure.
But anyway, today is all about our birth story, what happened. We're just gonna jump right into it. All right, so I was 41 weeks pregnant when things started to happen. So it was July 31st when I felt like my water didn't necessarily break, but I felt like it could be leaking. So I called the nurse. They said it's better if you come in. So that was Sunday night, and I was already scheduled to be induced on the Tuesday. Your girl did not want to be induced. I was doing everything under the sun for things to just kick off naturally. So many people, so many of you were like, all you have to do is have sex with your husband and your baby girl would come. No, my cervix was not ready. It was like shut, closed, long, tight. It was just not ready. And so when I showed up at the hospital, they confirmed that. They said, it doesn't look like you're leaking amniotic fluid. You're only 0.5 centimeters dilated. And based on the tracing of her heart, they wanted to keep me in to get a closer eye on the both of us. And they said they were just going to induce me right there and then, pretty much. It started with me taking a pill called Cytotec, and that was to help prepare my cervix. But my body didn't really respond favorably to it, so I was getting contractions every minute and a half to 3 minutes, which is way too frequent for where I was at in the labor process. I was only 0.5 centimeters. Usually you feel contractions like that frequent towards the end. So they wanted to help slow things down. They didn't want her to be in distress. So late off of that, we ended up sleeping, and then now it was Monday morning. Contractions have spaced out. I'm feeling good, so they gave me another dose of the Cytotec. Same thing started happening, so they were like, okay, we'll do another method. We, at this point, labor is great. At this point, we're watching Just for Laughs video, which is kind of like a series of pranks that happen here in our city. And we were watching wedding bloopers, like music, like it was just like really good, just enjoying ourselves.
Your girl was dancing. Yeah. You need to include a clip of that.
Oh yeah. He was, anyway, he thought he was a doctor at some point. I'm gonna put that picture too. But like at this point, I'm able to breathe through contractions, like feeling good. Then my water broke partially. We didn't know it was partially at the time. So I got up to use the bathroom, and then I just felt like a gush of water trickling down my legs. Then that's when the contractions started to like intensify a little bit. So that's when I started to practice my breathing.
Your affirmations.
My affirmations. So my mom was in one ear sharing my affirmations. She's like, you were built to birth. You can do all things through Christ.
Shout out to you, Mama B.
Strengthens you. Your body knows exactly what it's doing. Like, she's just giving me all affirmation after affirmation. And then this man right here is giving me like the best massage. He's doing counter pressure. He's like, you got this, baby. And we were at that for about 10 to 12 hours. At this point, I was getting closer into the night. So I'm like wanting relief. I'm like wanting to sleep. I remember thinking like, maybe I can just ignore my contraction. Like, maybe I'll just pretend it doesn't happen. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then I had to breathe through it. Like, there was no pretending it wasn't happening, you know?
And by that time, they had already given her a second dose of Cytotec.
Yes. They'd already given me the second dose, and then I had thrown up.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so I projecttile vomited 5 times, y'all.
Yeah.
It was...
Hey, y'all, don't come after me. I'm not laughing at her. It's just
Yeah.
that it was very surprising, to say the least.
I was like, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. And then I was like, I was so grossed out by that I threw up again. And then I was like, ew, and I threw up again. And then I was like, oh, gross, and I threw up again. Like, it was just so bad. It was just, I kept like getting grossed out by the vomit and like puking again, like getting that gag reflex again. Just awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's when the nurse came in to check me again, and I'm like so excited to find out how close we are to birth. And she checks my cervix and she's like, you are 1 centimeter. I was like, I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, I a whole day just to be at 1 centimeter? You're joking, right? Like, you have a funny sense of humor, right? And she's like, no, she's not joking. She's dead serious. So, yeah, that was probably my lowest point in this whole experience. I was just feeling really demoralized at that point because I was really giving it my all. And I was like, we are not even, like, at the starting line, it seems. So I was still, like, pre-game, pretty much. So I was just like that.
You weren't even in the game.
I wasn't even in the game. You know,
warming up.
Yeah. It's like you're giving all you've got just to find out, like, oh, you didn't know, like this ain't the playoffs. This was our warm up, you know. So anyway, but that again, that's out of my control because that's just where my cervix was at, and that's another thing to realize, like. There's so much parts of this process that you're just not in control of. And so it's good to have a plan, but you have to hold your plans loosely. Mm-hmm. And I knew that going in. Just experiencing it was a whole other thing as well. So at that point, they had talked to me about getting Pitocin. Mm-hmm. So Pitocin is like the synthetic version of oxytocin.
Yeah, but right before that, they broke your water.
Oh, yes. Okay, so basically my water did not fully break. So she did break my water. She asked for permission, and Niagara Falls happened. I was blown away by how much amniotic fluid comes out of you. Like, I was like, and we're still going. And we're still going. Like, it was just wild, you know?
The gift that keep on giving.
Yeah. Anyway, so that happens. Again, they started talking about, okay, we do need things to accelerate more. Because you're only 1 centimeter. So that's when they started talking to me about Pitocin. So that would intensify my contractions and make them more frequent. Mind you, I was already wanting relief at this point because of how long I had been, dealing with this. Exactly. I had asked if they had laughing gas, but they said they don't do that now with, the current state in the world. You know what I'm talking about? You don't want to say the word and get flagged, Anyway, so I had requested hydrotherapy, so we got to go in another room and have a hot tub and be in the warm water, which I was just so happy to be able to do that. Like, that really helped shift things for me, just being in the water. And then that's also when you kind of looked at me and you're like, you can cry. You just kind of gave me permission to, like, just cry and let my emotions out, which I did in that moment. And then it was kind of like, okay, what's part 2 gonna look like, And I felt like it was like the reset that I needed. And that's when I decided, okay, going into the night, I know I'm gonna need good rest. I'm gonna need all the strength I can muster for tomorrow, for Tuesday. Also, she was saying, based on where you're at and this being your first birth, this could still be another 12 hours. So I didn't want to keep me and my support cast up the whole night. Like, it just did not make sense for me. It didn't sit right with me. So decided to get Pitocin, and in that moment decided to get the epidural as well. And now my ideal was to go in unmedicated, least amount of interventions possible, but I also knew what my conditions would be for getting an epidural, whether that was labor lasting more than like 24 hours or way longer than I thought, or if I was no longer in a good mental state, or if she was in distress, which they had, at this point, they had added a monitor to her head as well because they wanted to get a closer look at her heart rate, because that was something that they had been concerned about. And so with all of this information, I decided, okay, I'm going to get Pitocin, and then I'm also going to get Epidural so I can get a really good night's sleep. So I shared that, and then they were like, oh, your timing is perfect. The anesthesiologist is like on the floor. Yeah. He's right here.
Right across us.
Giving it to another woman, so he'll be right with you.
Fortuitous timing, some would say.
That's it. And so he came on over, gave me the epidural. I know different people have different experiences. For me, it did not hurt at all. All I felt was like immediate like relief. The pain that I was feeling in my hips and lower back completely went away. And I remember just feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna sleep so good tonight.
It was night and day for sure.
That's it. So we all got a good night's rest. I remember telling them like, good night everyone. See you in the morning.
Girl, speak for yourself. You had a bed.
Oh.
Hey guys, fellas, you know,
Dang.
like if you can bring an inflatable mattress, yeah, that will go a long way. Because your boy was, crouched up on the ground.
I was so
makeshift
bad.
pillow. Yo, hey, listen, it was an experience, but yeah.
I tried to get him in the bed with me, but that bed is not made for two, and it's not comfortable. So.
Yeah. But hey, listen, it's not about me again. It's all about you. Like. The least I could do is sleep on the ground to support you.
Man, yeah, that's why he got the best rest that he could given the situation.
Even resting is.
That's it. Because it could have
amazing.
Been an all-nighter again.
100%.
So slept like a baby, and then when I woke up, they checked my cervix again. And I was now 4 centimeters. Mind you. That's it. We're like, okay, we're gonna celebrate every like little bit of progress. And then a few hours after that, that's when the doctor came in and said, we've noticed that her heart rate is dropping during your contractions, which could either show that she's in distress, or it could be a sign of infection because your water has broken more than 12 hours ago. And so, like, I hate to tell you this, but it's looking like we're gonna have to do a C-section. At this point, I'm like, well, this really is the opposite of my birth plan. But again, my priority was both of us being healthy and well after this experience. But I was still kind of hoping that would not happen. Even though she was saying it pretty definitively, I was still kind of like, Jesus, if you want to make an appearance, now is the time. So she goes and she checks me, and lo and behold, your girl is 10 centimeters. Like, that was the most surprising news of the day.
And let the saints say,
Amen.
Hallelujah.
It was seriously like amazing, because think about it. It had been more than 26 hours at this point, and I was only like 4 centimeters, and then in the span of like
a couple hours,
I'm now 10. Which again, like the process is just you can't really put a formula to it.
That's right.
The body's gonna do what the body's gonna do. But I was really happy to hear that I was 10 centimeters. So she's still pretty high up, but I'd rather you push early than do a C-section and like bring her out. Like, since she's already making progress towards coming, let's just go via the vagina route pretty much.
And like, honestly, shout out to that team. Dr.
They were
McFarlane,
amazing.
Also Emily, our nurse, who pretty much saw everything from the beginning of the birth up to the pushing stage.
Yeah, she was awesome.
She was awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
And so your girl started to push early.
with your blindfold on.
Yes. So I was wearing an eye mask. I know I probably looked crazy, but I had my reasons for doing it.
Oh my gosh. Follow the light.
So I started to push, and honestly, okay, so don't forget, I still had the epidural, but it had worn off enough where I can feel the sensation to push, which I was so grateful for, because that was one of my pushbacks to getting it, because sometimes people don't feel anything, and that's why the tears can be more severe and you're not able to listen to your body's natural urge and desire to push. But I felt enough to feel the urges to push, but not enough where I felt like intense pain. And so it was perfect for me, and started pushing. It really, to be honest, it felt like if you had a really large bowel movement, honestly. Like, the sensation was like if you really had to poo. Anyway, so another thing did happen though. She did have shoulder dystocia, which is when the shoulder gets stuck in the pelvis, and it is like an emergency procedure. I didn't realize how serious that could be until after the fact when I Googled it, but pretty much that happened, and so they responded so quickly to it.
Yep.
They flipped me on my back, had my legs straight up in the air, pushed down on my stomach and my pelvis, and pulled her out. And then, like, the final push, she was here safely. That did affect her left shoulder, and so she didn't have full range in the shoulder, just the left hand. But, like, by God's grace, like, she can move it fully now, and she has she's like throwing punches with that arm, so everything is good.
Throwing jabs.
And also, like, in hindsight, I'm like, man, I am grateful that I had the epidural, because that would have been very painful to go through without it. Mind you, I think if I didn't, like, God would have graced me just the same. But I was just grateful for my story and how it went, and that I got what I needed when I needed it. And and I'm pretty sure if I didn't do the Pitocin, and if I didn't have that night of sleep, I would have had to do the emergency C-section. So again, in the moment, you can feel like, why is my plan going to crap? But, like, in hindsight, I'm like, wow, like, everything really did happen for a reason, and in a sense, like, everything built on each other and was what I needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do find, going the natural route, or even, being induced, I find that God is working in both of them.
Facts.
So just have an open mind, and know that God will use everything, for good.
Yeah.
Nothing will go to waste.
Yeah. And know your why. Like, if I had just let my ego get in the way, or if I felt like I had something to prove, like, we would have all suffered needlessly, including her. I'm so grateful that I was, like, really informed on each step of the birthing process. Each decision I knew the pros and cons of, because you want to do that kind of research beforehand, because in the hospital it could be like snap decisions that you have to make on the spot, and sometimes the nurse, like, they're not even able to tell you all the pros and cons. So she was born 9 pounds 5 ounces
August 2nd
at 11:46 a.m.
She's a heavyweight.
Yeah, she was. And in terms of tearing, I only got minor 1-degree tears, which, again, my doctor was like, this is amazing given how the size that she was, and also the fact that there was the shoulder dystocia. She's like, usually that combination would call for a 3 or 4-degree tear, and you don't feel it in the moment. But postpartum recovery,
that's a story.
It's a whole other story. That was the one area that I don't think I really paid attention to, and I see now why people say that there's a 4th trimester. I get it now, but I'm just so grateful that she's here. And I remember telling myself, like, I would absolutely do it again. God willing, I would in a heartbeat. And if you're a first-time mama or you've never experienced it, I know for me, I was like, I don't know what my pain tolerance is. I don't even have period cramps. I've never broken a bone, like, but the thing is, it's like you absolutely can. It's like every person you see is a reminder of someone that's done it, and it's like a grace that you're given in the moment, and you're just amazed by what your body's able to do. And so my advice for a new mom would be to prepare, to keep your thoughts positive and affirming, and to know your options. And you want to be as relaxed as you can be, because fear will cause you to be tense, and it will make things a lot harder. So that would be my advice.
And on my end, I know that God is always working everything, for the good of His servants. And secondly, for my boys out there, just be present, man.
Yeah.
That's all it takes, I find that sometimes, guys, they kind of like, they're expecting things to go a certain way, or they're expected to behave a certain way. No, just be physically and mentally and spiritually aware. Stay prayed up, because obviously sometimes you might have to make, you know, like split-second decisions. So that's why it's important to know, you know, what she wants as well, to advocate for her. But apart from that, just be there, you know, enjoy the moment.
If you have any more questions, leave them in the comments below, and I hope you are encouraged by our story. Know that, you know, have a plan, but then, you know, hold it loosely and be prepared for anything, and know that whatever it looks like, you got this.
Amen. God's got this.
That's it.
Amen. For sure. Well, guys, yep, that's it.
That's it.
Bye.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
She's still sleeping.
Still sleeping. Or is she
Yeah.
waking up? Say hi to the people with the left hand.